Hey there, it's Eileen Guilbeault with The Real Las Vegas, and I am here today with Nancy Gabriel with Mediation Around the Table. So, that really could be anything. I mean, mediation-wise.
It is anything.
Yeah. Okay, so you're not one specific type of mediation.
Oh, no. I like to say if you can sit in the same room
with
the person you're in conflict with, I can help. Mediation can help. Because the process is essentially the same regardless of the nature of the conflict.
True. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So who do you seem to get most of your clientele with? What type of subject?
Mostly divorce, custody, families, siblings, blended families, elders. I do some business mediation, but most of the business that comes into my office is divorce and family related.
Okay, so I know you. You have to be one of the most positive people that I know.
Thank you.
How do you handle all of the conflict and not let it bother you?
Well, I, first of all, the most obvious answer is it's not my own personal conflict.
True.
So I am compassionate, I am empathetic, I have been there in a lot of the situations or know of people who've been there, and I've been doing this for 8 years. Some clients are more sympathetic than others, and I connect more with some than others, but as a mediator I'm a neutral third party, so that is just swept under the rug. I don't pay any attention to that, and I just listen.
So you have a goal in mind to resolve a conflict,
hopefully,
and that's where you stay.
Right, hopefully, but it's not my idea of how to resolve it, it's my clients. My clients come up with their own solutions. What I do is facilitate the conversation. And sometimes if I see that they're at an impasse, I might separate them and let's say send the wife to the lobby and bring the husband in and say, this is a confidential conversation.
Right.
What's really going on? What's it gonna take for you to move past this? Things like that. And you'd be surprised at some of the things I hear in those private conversations.
I bet.
I mean, I could go on and on and on. But the bottom line is I don't tell my clients what to do.
That's interesting. So how do you, I've never heard that. So
that's the role of a mediator, is a neutral third party.
Well, I must not know anything about mediation. So it starts out, they seek you out to help them resolve some sort of conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So then because in my mind, by the time you're coming to mediation, you're already at an impasse. Is that not true?
Sometimes. Okay. And sometimes, most often, they come to mediation, they say, we want a divorce, we don't want to spend the money on lawyers, we don't want to spend the time on litigation, and most importantly, and I can't emphasize this enough, mediation preserves relationships.
Right.
So if they're a family, if they've got kids, they're going to be a family forever.
Right.
There's going to be graduations and weddings and soccer games and what have you.
Yeah.
So I tell my clients all the time, if you can do this part with some dignity and respect for each other, not only are you making it easier on yourselves moving forward, but you're modeling better behavior for your children.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they come in and they say, okay, we want a divorce, and we've got community property, we've got community debt, we've got children, we've got retirement accounts, plenty of assets or no assets, doesn't matter. And so what I do is I start asking them questions. And I usually start with something usually non-controversial. So we'll say, Eileen, what car do you drive? In whose name is it? Do you want to keep the car? Will you assume the responsibility? And all the while I'm taking notes. And then we get in, from the cars, we get into some of the more challenging aspects.
Yeah.
And it could be child custody. It could be alimony, what have you.
Yeah.
It depends on there's no two cases that are the same. And I love that.
Yeah. I mean, it's you're guiding them through the process to where in some aspect they can keep the family intact.
Sure. I had a couple, it's been a few years ago, and they had teenagers, and they agreed in their settlement agreement that they were going to get together once a month as a family for dinner. And they would alternate. The one spouse would pay for the dinner that month, and the other spouse would choose the restaurant, and then vice versa. And that way, they still had their fingers on the pulse of their family.
That's
and
amazing.
It was really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Now, what about, because I know you do family, like with estates also.
Yes.
Does that go through the same type of process?
Well, I don't do any probate. I'm not a lawyer.
Right.
I suppose I should make that perfectly clear. Nor my therapist, nor my CPA. But as far as, let's say, adult siblings who aren't agreeing upon the distribution of their parents' things, maybe. Or I had one case years ago, not that long ago, where there were two sisters who were fighting over, their mother was in memory care and assisted living, and they were fighting over the bills. The one sister was local, the other sister was back east, and the sister back east was paying the bills, and the sister out here was assuming the responsibility. And I kid you not, they argued over toilet paper. This is not an exaggeration, because the sister who was paying the bill said, "Why are we buying mom toilet paper? Doesn't she have toilet paper at the facility?"
Right.
And the sister here said, "Well, yes, but she doesn't like it." And guess what, Eileen? It had nothing to do with the toilet paper.
Oh, no, of course not.
And once we figured that out,
Yeah.
or shall I say once they figured
Yeah.
that out, I was able to help them get past it.
That's amazing. I mean, because I think it does add up to a bunch of small things that snowball
Right.
into something that it seems like can't be resolved.
Right. And then through my training and experience, I ask the questions to find out what's really going on.
Right.
And although I don't say it quite that directly,
Right.
we get there.
Right.
We get there. But
That's
you know,
awesome.
mainly it's because my clients they come in willing to compromise.
Right.
And so my success rate is over 95% because of that.
I was going to ask you. Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing though, because I don't know. There's so much litigation, and I mean, and it's fortunately I've not had to go through a divorce, but I see so many people that the ones who suffer are the kids.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, not that the adults aren't suffering. Obviously, they're suffering, but
And we
the
don't know
children
how it
kinda-
manifests in the kids.
Well, no, and I don't know that kids have the language, you know, at, you know, probably any age to really say how it's affecting them.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And again, if I mediate with families, I ask the kids questions to find out what's really going on, because you're right, they don't have the tools.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a great service that you're offering.
I'm so passionate about it. I came about it later in life, and I find now where I'm at in my life, it's the absolute perfect fit for who I am.
Yeah, I can see that, because you're very easy to talk to.
Thank you.
And I believe you. Do you know what I'm saying? If you tell me something, I believe that it's confidential. I believe
certainly.
that you have my best interest in mind, and you don't find that often.
Well, that's a big compliment.
But it's
thank you.
Well, no, it's true, and I think, you know, just your success rate. Watch this video, because what she does is amazing. And today we're talking about your Vegas story.
My Vegas story.
Yeah, so how you came to Vegas. You know, we kind of have a very unique city.
We
So
do.
there are people from all over, all walks of life. Some come here for the entertainment, some come here for a whole variety of reasons. So, how did you come to Las Vegas?
Well, I came to Las Vegas from LA, where I grew up. Born in Milwaukee, but I don't remember it, except I'm a Packers fan. Go Packers. Came here from LA because my mom and dad had moved here. My parents moved here in 1990, and I moved here in 1992. this is kind of a funny story, and I've never really connected the dots in this way, but I was in 1991 an undefeated champion on $100,000 pyramid. Did I tell you this?
Really? No.
So I had some money. I won $33,500 on a trip to Costa Rica, and I was kind of burned out on my job.
Yeah.
I was managing a law firm, and so my dad kept saying, I have a business opportunity for you, come check it out. And so I did, and actually the business opportunity did not pan out, but it was the right time for me to move. And I'll be honest, it took me 5 years to like it here, and now it's home and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, we kind of have two different, categories. People either move here and stick it out and love it, or they hate it and they leave as soon as they can.
Right.
But having your parents here probably gave you more time to acclimate.
And my parents lived in Summerlin, and so I moved to Green Valley because I wanted to be like phoning distance but not dropping in distance. So that worked out pretty well.
So are you staying?
Yes,
I mean, this is home. This is where you've started your business now.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a wonderful life here. I have a home that I love with a swimming pool that I use all the time, and I have wonderful, wonderful friends and neighbors, and it's home.
Yeah.
I go to LA periodically because most of my family's there. In fact, pretty much all my family's there.
Yeah.
And it's no longer home. I love to visit.
Yeah.
And then I come back here.
Yeah.
I come back home.
All right, so what was it? $100,000 pyramid? So how did that?
All right, so you make me tell that story. Okay. All right. I had tried out I have been on game shows before.
Okay.
I went to UCLA, and to get extra money to fund my education, I tried out on game shows, and I succeeded a few times. But pyramid, you had to take a test, you had to pass interviews with the producers, and they called me I'm dating myself, but so what, in the mid-'80s, and I came down, and they always have more contestants than they could possibly use.
Right.
And so they didn't use me that day, and then they said, we will call you back, you'll be among the first 3 shows we film next time we film, and then the show got canceled.
Oh gosh.
And so 6 years later, I get a phone call. I'm sitting in my office, and the receptionist says, so-and-so from $100,000 Pyramid's calling. And I'm like, yeah, right. I take the call, and that's who it was. And fortunately, I was at the same job.
Yeah.
And I had to retest. And then they called me. I was practicing like a maniac at lunch. I had women that I work with would come to my house at lunch and practice, and friends, and everywhere I went. Things you put in a trash can, things that get delivered, and so I went there, and it was only on again for 1 season. It was syndicated. John Davidson was the host, and I was on for 5 days. They didn't let you do more than that. And then I qualified for the actual $100,000 tournament, went down for that filming, and they were filming pre-qualifiers, and somebody beat my time, so I didn't get to play for 100. But it was a great experience.
That had to be so fun.
Yeah. And it aired in LA, because it was syndicated, it aired in LA in the middle of the night. And it was during Desert Storm, so it was after the local affiliate NBC News went on, and then it went on. And so we just set our VCR. This was before DVRs. And
if you need an explanation of what a VCR is,
Google it.
Ask me.
And I had people calling me. I had one opposing counsel in a case that we were working on who said he had the flu, and he was flipping around the stations in the middle of the night, and all of a sudden he saw me.
That is so
funny. Another friend who is an insomniac saw me, and in Vegas, where my parents were, it played at 9 in the morning. But it was a very fun experience.
I bet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is Nancy's Vegas story. So, and she has a nonprofit that she volunteers for here in town that is amazing, and you are definitely going to want to hear all about it. So, what's this nonprofit that you volunteer for?
It's so near and dear to my heart. It's called Adam's Place, and it's a center for children who have experienced loss, a parent, a sibling, a grandparent. And they conduct sessions called Camp Cope. It's free. It's 8 sessions every other week, and a new one is starting in January, and I am the adult facilitator. I have been there not quite 2 years, and I have worked with the most amazing group of adults who come there for their children.
Okay.
Some of them have lost a spouse, some of them have lost a child, some of them are grandparenting now as a result of the loss of a child. And every story is different. Every story is heartbreaking, Eileen. And yet I walk away, I say this often and I still haven't quite figured out why, but I walk away after every session feeling uplifted.
Yeah.
And I too have experienced loss. I'm a widow, and I lost my mom, my dad, and my husband within a 22-month period.
Oh my gosh.
And so I do have some empathy for some of these people. I've never lost a child, but grief is grief, and everybody handles it differently.
Yeah.
And my job there is to help the adults just communicate and help them communicate better with their children. The kids are learning ways to express their feelings. And when the children come there, especially the ones who've lost a parent, and they're at school and none of their friends have lost a parent.
Right.
And then they come to Adam's Place and they meet children who also have lost a parent, and they realize they're not the only ones.
Yeah.
And the volunteers are of a spirit I can't even comprehend. They start with the littles, and then I think they start at 5 is the youngest age, and then they go through teenagers. So they have littles, middles, and teens, and they do activities that are age appropriate, and they have some celebrations at the end, and all of it is geared towards coping.
Yeah.
And dealing with grief and communicating emotions, and then moving forward.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that anybody is suggesting they forget their loss.
Right.
They just help deal with them. But some of the stories, they're just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah. And how long have you been volunteering for them?
Well, I don't know exactly, but I think it's not quite 2 years. I think in January it'll be 2 years.
Well, it definitely dealing with such a heavy subject. I mean, you know, it has to be something that you're very passionate about, you know, because it's got to be difficult.
It speaks to my skill set in communication.
Yeah.
And it speaks to my skill set in empathy.
Yeah.
Because I too have experienced loss.
Yeah.
And it just, I just think if more people knew about this organization,
yeah,
and the more support, it's just called Adam's Place. Google it, and it's been around for 10 years. And the founder of it founded it after her son died in a car accident, her son Adam, and her younger son survived. He wasn't in the car, but he was the surviving sibling, and she tried to find places for him to get help. And as a result, that's why Adam's Place came about. And I'm just delighted to be a part of it.
And it's a locally started organization,
yes,
right?
Yes, it's a 503c. It's a nonprofit, and they have fundraisers every couple times a year.
Okay.
And everything is free to the families. That's the important thing.
That's what I was going to ask you, if there was a cost
No.
associated.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that, I mean, I can't imagine any family would not need,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in those circumstances. So it's amazing that there's organizations that are doing that.
Mm-hmm. It's wonderful.
So, yeah, well, thank you. I mean, obviously it's a much needed, you know, service that they're offering.
And it's a big part of who I am.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're very empathetic.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, Adam's Place information, how you can contact them will be on the bottom of this video. So if you know anyone, if you yourself, you know, have suffered loss, if you have children, right? Because that's
for
who it's
children.
geared toward.
Yes.
So if you have children who have suffered loss and you need them to have some coping, skills, and to be able to talk with some people to get them through this very transitional, phase. Reach out and from Mediation Around the Table. So this is the last question of our 4-part series, Getting to Know Her. And I think you might be super interested in this question because I know I am. So I want to know, what is the one thing that you wish people knew about your business?
Okay. Should I answer that first or give you an intro? I'm going to give you an intro.
Give me the whole shebang.
Okay. All right. When I started mediating I got my divorce certification beginning of 2012. So we'll say beginning of 2012, although I'd been mediating a bit prior to that. When I started networking in Las Vegas in 2012, many people didn't know what mediation was.
Right.
Now, fast forward 7 years, and I don't need to explain as often what mediation is. But the one thing I would like people to know is that you can start out with a mediator. You don't have to immediately go to a lawyer.
Right.
And I want to be perfectly clear, I have nothing against lawyers. My entire family is lawyers and judges and paralegals, and I have been a paralegal for decades. They've put food on my table.
Yeah.
I respect the profession. However, it doesn't need to be the first stop for people in conflict.
Right.
Let them go if they can, like I said before, if they can be in the same room with each other, and even if they can't. Because I've done mediations where I've had one party on Skype, I've had one party in one conference room and another party in my office. But basically, if they're willing to listen to each other, I can help. And maybe they come to me regardless of the nature of the conflict. Maybe they have 4 issues. If we can resolve 3 of them in mediation, and they only have to litigate 1, they
Right.
can cut to the chase.
Right.
And I've had that happen. I had a divorce case over the summer that we resolved every single thing except child custody. And that was a very emotional situation, and they were embedded in their positions. And they decided that mediation wasn't going to be the way out for them. And so what I did was I sent them a summary email listing all of the other issues they decided upon, because they had a lot of other issues.
Right.
So that when they went to find their lawyers, and I referred them to lawyers as well, when they went to litigation, they only needed to litigate that one issue,
Right.
which saves time and money.
Yeah.
But the one thing is, come to a mediator first.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. See if mediation is a good fit for you. I do an initial consultation at no charge, and that's the way I decide whether they're a good fit for me, and they decide whether I'm a good fit for them.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it. Because there are people that I'm sure come to you that you just know, either personality-wise or whatever.
If there's
that you're
any
not gonna be able to work
domestic
together.
violence
Yeah.
alluded to,
Yeah.
I can't help them. They need restraining orders.
Yeah.
So I immediately refer them or ask if they want a referral. And there's other cases where they just, I had a husband that I believe was a bully, and he was threatening his wife, if you don't do what I tell you to. It was a long-term marriage. If you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm divorcing you. And he totally blindsided her when he made the appointment with me. And then she said, okay, I don't want a divorce. And
Yeah.
I walked out. And I felt badly for her.
Yeah.
But I obviously couldn't show it.
Yeah.
So, if people can just give mediation a try first,
Yeah.
that's the one thing.
I have one more question.
Yes.
I know I didn't tell you I was going to ask
That's
this
all right.
question. I am interested. Has there ever been a situation where a couple came in wanting a divorce and through mediation have changed their mind?
Absolutely. And I refund their money. Because I'm not in favor of divorce.
Yeah.
I don't say, yay, you're getting a divorce.
Right.
I say, yay, you're doing it with respect and dignity.
Right.
So, yes, I have had, not a lot, I'll be honest, but I've had a handful that have reconciled. And I even had a family come in who they had a complex custody issue. And I said to them, we did the initial consultation, and I said to them, you are not candidates for mediation, you're candidates for counseling. Get some counseling first, and then if you feel you need my help, come back. So that was another situation. Not everybody's a candidate, but I'm delighted when people reconcile.
Yeah, that has to be amazing when they,
you know, and by the same token, I've had marriages as long as 49 years come to me, and I've helped them get a divorce. And people say, why bother? You know, they're in their 70s.
Yeah.
And I say, why not? If you're miserable, we're all entitled to joy. That's my personal belief. And if you're 75, you might live another 25 years. Why be miserable? Why be unhappy?
Yeah, it's never too late to be happy.
It's good.
Yeah.
Can I quote you on
you
that?
You can use it.
It's never too late to be happy,
Yeah.
says Eileen Guilbeault. Very good.
You heard it first here.
Right. And I'm stealing it. I'll give you credit once, and after that it's mine, okay?
You can do that all you want. Well, I really hope that in whatever circumstance it is, that you will use Nancy if you need to. If you don't need her, you know someone who does.
Thank you.
So, you know, reach out and give her a try. And like she said, she'll let you know if you're a candidate or not, and she'll always point you in the right direction. So thank you for getting to know Nancy with me, and we will see you the next time. Bye.
Thank you.
You're so
an honor.
welcome. No, it was great.